Hi, everybody. My name is Marcus Kennedy, and I'm the General Manager of the Gaming and Esports segment at Intel Corporation within the Client and Computing Group. I'm here to talk about how gaming is shaping the world and how the world is shaping gaming. It's one of my favorite topics. As a former professional video game player and an avid gamer, I love talking about gaming, and I just happen to be lucky enough to be like you in this industry. We all know that within the past year, gaming really exploded, right? So from seeing virtual meetings and concerts even happening within a live game environment to esports becoming really a true mainstream of sport event with events that are watched by more people than true regular sports, and ideas and stories and experiences that have been created within the video game experience really finding their way into mainstream entertainment. You really only have to watch John Wick once or see one of Netflix's interactive movies to see what I'm talking about. To that end, we here at Intel have been for years at the forefront of driving gaming, both from creation all the way through the experiences that gamers actually see by leading in performance. And so, as gaming really shapes the world, we continue to be the platform of choice to create games, stream games, watch and compete in games, and finally to play them. So, we'll talk a little bit today about how we are designing our products. We'll talk a little bit today about the gaming market overall. We'll touch on how we design our products both with the gamer in mind, but also you, the developers, in mind. We'll highlight some of our new products. And lastly, we'll touch on our innovations and how we are engaging with the community to make sure that we continue driving the future of gaming and see how we're shaping the world as well. So, let's talk a little bit about the market. So first, as we all know, in this working from home environment, it's not just working from home that you have to do, it's playing from home and battling boredom from home. And thankfully for us, and I think for all of us, what that gave the ability for folks to do is to really look at their hardware, look at the systems that they have, and decide whether they have what they need in order to really experience the most immersive storytelling and experiences that you all are bringing to them and see if it was really what they wanted. And so what we found was that the market really exploded last year. We saw about a 15% increase year over year in gaming sales. And these are just gaming branded PCs. And so computers that people buy specifically to try to go game with, they were looking at what they had and they said, this isn't good enough. I need to upgrade. And so more than normal refreshed over the last year. And because of that, we've actually seen an acceleration of the number of PC gamers in the world. So there's roughly 1.3 billion PC gamers in the world, and we expect that to be closer to 1.4 by next year. And that pace has actually accelerated. And remember, that's PC gamers, not all gamers. The number of all gamers is roughly about 2.5 billion. And so PC gamers and people who are gaming on their PC continues to grow. And that was just accelerated in the past year. We see evidence of that in the numbers themselves. About $37.5 billion is roughly the PC hardware market. The gaming market, by the way, if you're curious, is closer to 200 billion. And so for the content and all of those, it's still the majority of the market. We all know that content is king, but the hardware that you bring to bear and to deliver on that content and to drive those experiences and to have those experiences in your home also matter. And we saw gamers at a record pace last year actually come and buy their equipment so that they could experience it better. Through some data and some both external and internal analysis, we've also found that 60% of PC enthusiasts and hardcore gamers actually not just consider themselves PC gamers, but they also consider themselves console gamers. The reason why this is important is because, and I'm sure you all know this too, this really shows the rise of multi-platform really being a thing. Multi-platform now is more than half of the market. And so we think that what this means for you and the development community is that we need to make sure that we keep an eye on multi-platform games and how those games port from one platform to another and how that experience kind of plays. Because the last data point is not actually shown on this slide, is that gamers still prefer the PC over other forms of hardware to be able to play their games on. Part of the reason that we've seen that that's true is because you have just the most customizability, the biggest ability to actually go and do what you want to do with the system. But it's also because the PC drives the highest frame rate. You can get up to 300 versus consoles, which are at 60 or maybe 120, depending on which generation you have. And so we know that gamers, especially the savvy ones, know that PC is really the best place to experience the games. Even though most of gamers and people who play on PCs also play on multiple platforms. And so the role of the PC during COVID and over the course of last year was really beyond just gaming. It also, we saw people using it for entertainment and watching and streaming games. We also saw it for creation, right? And so more than ever, people trying to find ways to use their time turn to their computers to express themselves and talk about and socialize with their community on the variety of apps, but also to do all three of these things at the same time, which again, the PC is really the only place to go do that. And so what all of this means is that the PC market continues to explode, not just for gaming, but for the ability to do all three. And so it's really no secret that we believe that the PC delivers the most powerful gaming experience. And so to that end, here's really how we go and deliver on that promise. First is the S series desktop processors. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with these, but these processors, and we'll talk a little bit about our newest processor soon, these processors are really tuned for gameplay with an optimal balance of frequency, cores, and threads. The H series, which is our mobile brand of processors that go into gaming systems, is more about gaming anywhere with a balance between battery power and clock speeds. And so our newest processors, and again, I'll talk about it in a few, are the only processors on the market that get up to 5 gigahertz of speed on the go. But it's more than just the CPU, right? It also comes down to our graphics. And so we have both the integrated graphics with our new Xe architecture that offers world-class integrated graphics performance, all the way to us entering the discrete graphics market so that we can really fine-tune the platform across both graphics and the CPU to deliver those experiences that we're talking about. And the only real way that we think that we can do that is by offering more than just the component, but working with you, our OEMs, our ODMs, and our motherboard vendors with software and tools to then expose the goodness that is in that hardware into the gaming experiences and the content creation experiences and everything that consumers are actually using to drive. So we do optimization on specific games. We offer a variety of new and exclusive content, and we offer tools and support to help you make sure that the experiences you're trying to drive actually show up on Intel-based platforms. And last, and I'll just touch on this briefly, across all of these, our overclocking, our ability to overclock, and that small community, small but mighty community of overclockers, really want to squeeze every bit of performance out of their components, out of their CPUs, and out of their memory. And so, for the first time ever, we're actually allowing memory overclocking on our 500 series chipsets, which is coming to market with our newest Rocket Lake processors. But we're also continuing on our K-SKU to offer the highest overclocking headroom on the market to drive, for Rocket Lake, for example, up to 5.3 gigahertz. So to talk a little bit about our newest architecture and our newest product on the desktop side, we're launching our 11th generation Intel Core processor, codenamed Rocket Lake S. And this is actually our first new architecture on desktop in years. It's based on the Cypress Cove architecture. And what this new architecture allows us to do is it actually drives a 19% generation over generation IPC improvement. The way that translates for all of you is that it lets us drive higher single-threaded performance, which then leads to higher clock speeds and higher performance on games. We've also added new enhanced graphics. I mentioned earlier that we're bringing in our Xe architecture for our integrated graphics into this launch. And what that does is it actually drives a 50% better integrated graphics performance. And so in the times when you need integrated graphics performance, not just discrete graphics, we have what you need there in order to provide the best experience possible. And I talked a little bit about overclocking features on the last page, but our overclocking features continue to be enhanced and improved in this launch. And what this lets us do is it lets us kick up to about 5.3 gigahertz in speed when you add in all of these new overclocking features. And again, when you crank up those speeds, it really lets you expose the best experiences in terms of smoothness and frame rates, and provides that richer game experience with this platform. And so to dive a little deeper into some of the features on Rocket Lake. So first, I talked a little bit already about the new process core architecture. We talked about the integrated graphics. Some of you, I'm sure, are interested in, well, what can I attach to that? Because if I'm creating, I'm going to need to make sure I have all the graphics and all the storage and everything. So we now have up to 20 CPU PCIe 4 Generation 4.0 lanes, which is the first PCIe Gen 4 on the desktop from Intel. We've added new AI features with deep learning boost and VNNI support. And really, these new AI features And I'll talk about the performance in a little bit, but it actually allows us to drive even better performance on multi-threaded applications like creation and video streaming. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We have up to DDR4 3200 support, which is about 50% faster than the previous generation. We've got enhanced media. We've got a new enhanced display with integrated HDMI 2.0. I mentioned the overclocking features as well. And last, one of the things that's kind of new to this platform is our support for something called resizable bar. And really what that is a partnership between us and NVIDIA in order to drive a faster connection between the CPU and the graphics card in order to enable them to talk faster, and it allows for the graphics to be accessed more quickly, which leads to better performance on the platform. So you've heard me talk a lot about generation over generation and all of that stuff, but uh, I know that you're really wondering how it compares against our competition. The 11900K doesn't just deliver incremental performance gen over gen, but it also delivers against competition. This page shows you some of the data that we have coming in, and of course, data will continue coming in. We'll continue showing it as we have it. But at their launch series, AMD showed gaming data points comparing the 5900X with the 10th generation or Comet Lake processors. And so we want to compare the 11900K against what they showed, the 5900X. And so let's look at some of those popular AAA titles. We've got Total War Three Kingdoms, which shows a roughly 10% improvement over 5900X. And we've got Flight Simulator all the way to the right, which shows also a roughly up to 11% gain in terms of FPS versus the 5900X. And we've got a couple other titles here in the middle. And again, we'll continue showing more and more titles, but we wanted to make sure that you saw us comparing like versus like and see how we're doing. And it's not just about gaming. We know you also care as developers about content creation. And so we wanted to show you the i9 11900K against the 5900X as well. And so on this page, you can see some of the metrics that we have on various workflows. Utilizing its AI features, this processor will deliver solid performance on content applications as well as gaming that we talked about before. The video creation workflow that we're showing here is the Magix video editing software. And so you see a 35% improvement versus 5900X on that particular application. Using Deep Learning Boost, we also then deliver up to 38% improvement on the MLPerf benchmarks, 6% on Sysmark 25, and the photo creation is about 14%. And that photo creation application, for those who really care about that kind of thing, is Adobe Photoshop so that you can see that performance for yourself. But last, we talked a little bit about how single-threaded is really where we focus. That IPC gain that I talked about before really drives great single-threaded performance. And the single-threaded performance shows up here for the MS Office productivity workflow. And you see an 8% gain over 5900X as well. So in addition to our Rocket Lake processor on desktops, coming very soon is also our 11th generation Core H series on mobile applications. So we've got our Tiger Lake processors coming out. It's going to be our newest H family, and it's going to feature up to 8 cores running up to 5 gigahertz across all of the cores. It'll also have support for up to 20 lanes of CPU-attached PCIe Gen 4. And these systems are going to be capable and attached with our partners' latest discrete graphics as well, which will also allow you with those with the PCIe Gen 4, allow you to attach multiple storage devices for the fastest I/O throughput possible. These platforms will include all of our best platform ingredients like Killer Wi-Fi 6, 6E, as well as Thunderbolt 4. These new systems are going to be arriving with partners at launch later this year, and stay tuned, we'll have more details to come. So you've heard me talk a good amount about our new processors and kind of what we're bringing to bear in the market itself, but one thing that I want to make sure that everybody walks away with here is that we as a company can't do anything without our partners. We innovate through our partners. We innovate through the platforms we're able to bring to market with those partners. And so our platform, when we talk about what platform really means, we mean not just the CPU, but all of the components like Killer Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi Gig, Thunderbolt, the batteries, all of that stuff. But we also talk about the BIOS and the software that it takes to bring those things to market and expose all of the goodness from the hardware. And the engine that we use in order to scale with the industry and with those partners includes a ton of engineers. I mean, you see on the slide, it's greater than 5,000. I should think the number is closer to 6,000 nowadays. We have about 2,000 designs that go out annually. All of that engineering is done across all of the disciplines, electrical to make sure we get all the current the right way, thermals to really enable folks to be able to turn up the heat on some of these things and cool the right way, right? So you don't burn your board, and mechanical to make sure it all fits together the right way. Through those, we have deep co-engineering programs with all of our OEM and ODM and motherboard partners to make sure that as you bring all of these platforms to market, that it's all then showing up in the market the right way. And we work with them closely in the labs together, side by side, to make sure that that goodness gets exposed. And then last, and there's a little bit of patting ourselves on the back here. There's hundreds of patents that we generate with all of this co-engineering per year. Some of those are with with our partners as well. But the reason why that's important to us is because we think it's validation and of our overall engineering effort and the innovation that we bring to market. So, what does that really innovation look like when you bring it to scale? Well, first, it starts with hundreds of innovative designs that we work through our partners, and you see kind of a scattering that I'm sure that some of you recognize on this page. And it's thousands of design wins across all of those designs that end up coming to market. But really, at scale, what that looks like and how that platform innovation comes, it's that co-engineering I talked about, but it's also optimizations. I'll touch a little bit on the optimizations and how we work with you all in the development community to optimize content to run on these platforms. But it's more than just optimizing content in games. It's also optimizing the tuning of how all the hardware works together on the platform. It's looking at things like companion displays and making sure refresh rates happen the way we want them to happen, and that you don't get that flickering like you normally get with some systems. It's looking at HDR 1000 panels and displays. It's taking our ecosystem all the way from motherboards through audio and beyond. It's having slim borders of 17 inches and bringing the thinnest notebooks to market, which you'll see coming up this year with our Tiger Lake systems. And on the desktop side, we have very small form factors. You might be aware of the Nook form factor with the Skull Canyon with the really cool skull on there. But being able to compress all of that performance into those small form factors or those really thin designs on notebooks takes a ton of engineering and co-engineering with our partners. And that's how we end up bringing that innovation to market. So as we've talked about already, and I'm sure that you can see, we have thousands of things in motion to deliver on the roadmap, from enabling on the platforms to working with ecosystem partners like you all on the development side, or our OEM partners, motherboard, ODM vendors, and all that engineering innovation we already talked about. We also think we have the right vision, strategy, and relationships to make it all happen. And so what I'm going to do now is talk a little bit more about the developers and our relationship with you all in the community. We actually count on these relationships with you to drive a relentless march of technical innovation across the industry year in and year out. We've learned that games demand performance from every component of the platform, whether it's the CPU driving real-world physics and AI or the GPU delivering stunning visuals. It really takes the full power of the platform before a game both looks and feels real. Because of this, we've really invested heavily in tools to help tune games for the full platform experience. We've also worked closely with the leading game engines to ensure that the broadest cross-section of you, the developers, have access to Intel tech. And we've invested in close relationships with the leading publishers, working with them on the top new titles from around the world. This is all critical because the gaming industry is extremely complicated, as you know. There are at least 8,000 PC games launched every year. Because of that volume, there's really no way that anyone who isn't paying close attention to the market can keep up. And this task can be really daunting, so we've invested significantly in building programs that give you access to the most games and help you get across the finish line so you can easily and reliably drive your sales using software. Our always-on engagement engine has a massive audience of fans from both our Intel and our software partners, and it works through a highly engaging activations and promotions engine that tie directly to sales, all driving a clear ROI. And altogether, these programs really represent a consumer engagement engine that is running and ready to drive sales for you today. It really all starts with community, both ours as well as those of you, our dev partners, pulling more and more consumers into the program every day. And from there, we move to the center point of our engine, the Gaming Access Program, or GAP, as we call it. GAP is comprised of an email campaign, a website, and a desktop app. These consumer touchpoints are designed to engage both our community as well as those of you, the developer, through content. With sweepstakes, contests, giveaways, and news, there's always something new on GAP. And the best is, because we have access to hundreds of titles from around the world, you really don't have to worry about missing out on the next big hit. Finally comes our crown jewel, the Software Advantage Program, or because we love three-letter acronyms, SAP. SAP is hands down the largest, most diversified bundle program in the industry. We deploy millions of bundles every year through over 300 partners, which support 5,000 physical and online locations. And this means that the bundle is applied to where it's going to do the most good, directly to the consumer at the point of sale. It's the always-on combination of these three components that's so critical to the success of the program. Because we're literally giving something away every few days, we have access to a consistent flow of engagement from our consumers. That engagement, combined with business intelligence and a direct sales call to action, allows us to continually improve the performance of the engine. Our numbers get better, and the program gets smarter every single day. And with that continuous improvement every day, it allows us to continue to add that value back to you, the development community. And so last, I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's really near and dear to my own heart, which is us as Intel as kind of an industry steward of the PC platform. We've been around for a long time, and we take this really seriously. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we see our role in shaping not just stewarding the PC as a platform, but also using that industry stewardship as a way to really change the industry for the better, both for you all in the community and for our gamers as well. So first, we've started really leaning into getting and collecting more and more gamer feedback. We've done Reddit Ask You Anythings, where we bring experts and our executives in to really kind of take the hard questions, and our more technical experts to really answer the hard questions, because we know our executives don't do that very well. And our gamer feedback we take, and then we use that feedback to actually drive changes in our products. An example is shown here, where we took some graphics feedback from our gamers and used that to actually deliver new and innovative features that we got literally directly from gamers and were able to implement 6 months later. But it's more than just about our products. It's also about diversity and inclusion and who is bringing those products to market. So we're spending a lot of our time and effort both making sure that we have the right representative voices in our company, but also external to our company too. We're launching programs and workshops that we've invited a number of you to help have underrepresented voices be stood up and be represented in the gaming community. And we've also taken to helping to stand up underrepresented voices as streamers and gamers who are driving that content that we've talked about already, how more and more streamers are starting to do that, and more people are watching streams. We want to make sure that the people who are seen represent the diverse point of view and bring not just diversity of color, but also diversity of thought and ideas to the table. And so we're spending a lot of our resources to actually stand those folks up. Over the last 6 months or so, we've stood up roughly 6 people of color streamers, and we'll continue down that path in 2021. We've also launched will be launching for the first time ever with our Rocket Lake launch, something called an anti-toxicity app. We know that toxicity is a really big pain point for our gamers and in our community. And so we're launching something we call Bleep, that'll be in beta with the Rocket Lake launch, that'll allow the gamer to be empowered to turn on or off what they hear. It uses machine learning and is tied into our silicon to bring that capability to bear and really hit that customer pain point. And we really look forward to getting feedback from you all in the community on how well that works in the market. And last, and I want to talk about this a little bit, is what we do within esports. Esports can be seen sometimes as just a pure marketing play because you see our name kind of plastered on things. But for us, we've been the #1 hardware vendor and sponsor within esports, not just because it puts our name up on things, but because we actually think it's the best place to lean in with our community. We've been in this space for about 15 years now, since esports really were a big thing. And now that there are multi-million-dollar contracts and there are almost 500 million people watching these streams per year, we think this is really the best place to show off the experiences that you all are bringing to market and have the best place to show off our systems and the capabilities in the most competitive environment possible. And the last thing that we've done within esports then is to make sure that as esports grows, that there's a growing community that comes in behind all of the professionals that are starting to grow up. And so we've launched something called Intel Inspires, which allows us to work with partners, but to bring in something that allows amateurs to come in and coaches and professional teams, and also schools who are starting to offer esports scholarships to come in and view those amateurs and that talent and start offering scholarships to them so that they can grow up and aspire to being professional gamers. Or, like with any scholarship, they can use that scholarship as a way to get into school and then use that as a launching pad to go into their educational curriculum. So esports can be more than just, you're either professional or not. You can use it to actually further whatever you want to go do in your life. And it's really important to us to use esports as a way to not just market ourselves and your content, but also to use the excitement around the community to really change the world. And that's what we're trying to do. And so I've talked a lot this whole presentation about, our products, the market, and kind of how we see ourselves and how we partner with you in the community. But I want to go back to the very beginning about how gaming really is shaping the world. Again, we're seeing gaming kind of go everywhere. It's not just for teenage boys in basements anymore. In fact, more than half of the gamers in the world are women. And so kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you're developing games. So gaming really is shaping the world, and the world continues to shape gaming as experiences and all the things that we see happening in the world starts to change what we see represented on this screen. And so I just want to leave it here with you all. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you all in person soon, or at least virtually as we continue to partner with you. Thank you.